on this edition of Street Talk with Adi, we'll be discussing personal finance. Did you know 43 million Americans suffer from student loan after graduating from college? And did you know that 80% of all American workers live paycheck to paycheck, which means that their next meal relies on their paycheck? This is where the topic of personal finance kicks in. Personal finance is the management and covering of one's wealth and wealth assets. So how does it work? So while I was reading, I ran across a few articles about personal finance, and I read about 5 tips to stay financially healthy throughout your life. Tip number 1: spend less than you make. This tip is very important because if you spend more than you make, you'll be in debt. Tip number 2: keep fixed costs low, such as mortgage and rent. Tip number 3, which I found to be the most important: create and use a budget. So when you have a budget, you can track how much money is going in and out, the inflow and outflow, and make sure you log it down to make sure you know how much money you're spending and how much money you're taking in. Number 4, be wary of complex and clever investment schemes. And number 5, finally, is save early and save often. Most people that save early and save often reach financial success earlier in life. And along with this tip, diversify your money, which means keep your money in not in one area, but in many areas. So now that you've applied these 5 tips, what's the next step? That question will be answered by Mr. Brandon Green, who has helped many people with his financial and investment advice. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing fantastic.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for your time and thank you for coming on my show today.
Sure.
So when I reach college and it comes to paying off my tuition or fees, what options do I face, or what options can I do to pay off my tuition and fees?
So you're going to get my standard answer with almost any question about insurance and investments, and that is it depends, right? So the answer to that really depends on right now, okay? What I mean by that is some minors have adults, their parents that are starting to save for them. So you may have access to monies like that if mom and dad are doing that, right? You also have the capacity now at your age where you can work and you can save, right? And having a good solid mom and dad, you can lean on them to ask, hey, where can I put the money? Also, when you turn 16 or 17, you might get an actual job. There's places that will hire you, and you could set aside and save even more money. Next, when it gets to college, you can get a job in school. You could work on a work-study program where the college actually has you working for the college. Sometimes maybe it's the registrar's office. It could be in your actual kind of career path, so to speak, inside the college. And then last would be loans, right? So you could obtain loans where they would front the money to you, just like buying a car. So you get the money up front, you use that to pay for school, and then you get out and you're faced with either, hey, I've got debt where I owe companies for giving me money to go to school, or you have no debt because either through your own volition by working or leveraging savings that mom and dad had set aside for you, there is no debt, right? So let's fast forward and say, hey, maybe I've got debt coming out of college, right? First thing I would say is save as much money as you can. Save as much money while you're in college. And when you leave college, save as much money as you can on the front end, right? On the front end of that graduation. Meaning it might mean doing something unpopular like getting a couple of roommates or staying at home with mom and dad for the first year, just to try to take as much of your salary as you can and try to wipe some of that stuff out. So in summary, you've got resources that you may or may not be able to lean on with your family. You've got working from now all the way through college, and you have loans. And then once you graduate college, it'll be your station in life. You'll be able to figure out whether it's time to go to work hard to pay off those loans, or if you're just starting at a different place in life because you had resources through your own hard efforts and those of your parents and when you graduated without debt.
So talking about the loans and student loans, Is there a way you suggest that it's possible to graduate without any debt?
Yeah, and again, the answer does go back to it depends, right? If we've got parental resources that have saved for us, or scholarships, we didn't even talk about that, then we can graduate without debt, right? Either because somebody else paid for it, or we got paid for our efforts scholastically or athletically, and the college decided to send us there for free or partially for free. Of course, working through school will help you graduate without debt as well.
So I've heard my parents talk about something called a 529 plan.
Mhm.
Please explain what that is.
So the popular term is college savings plan. It's really just a section of the tax code, right? Originally, college 529 plans were designed for grandparents to save for grandchildren, right? So it helped kind of bypass something that's above the scope of this interview called the generation skipping tax, and allowed them to send money down to a generation past the parents to provide money for college. Well, the financial institutions got together and said, hey, this is a really great idea. Why don't we promote this to parents? So, in the hands of parents, they can use this particular vehicle. They can set money aside. And when you set money aside and put it to work to earn interest, then when you use that money later on in life, typically you're going to pay a tax on the growth. Okay. Inside a 529 plan, as long as the money is used for college, and you can go to just type in what can a 529 be used for into Google. I think 529.org or something like that's a great resource. But tuition and many other collegiate things can be paid for with a 529 without paying tax on that growth. Now, I will say this, when you're applying for scholarships, whenever you're applying for financial aid, the colleges can see every dime that is inside of a 529 plan, and they know that money has to be used for college or there will be a penalty assessed. So if you take that money out and go buy a 63 split window coupe Corvette, don't use it on higher education, then there's going to be a tax and a penalty on that. Okay, so can I tell you to the letter that an institution is going to look at that and go, oh, we don't have to give him a scholarship because he's got money that has to be used for college? I won't say that out loud, but it does make you wonder. So I'm not saying don't save, but I think there are other vehicles that could be leveraged that could provide for growth, have access through college, and then if you get a scholarship, you don't have to worry about it. Meaning, let's pretend that parents save for their child inside a 529 plan, and then that child went military or got a full ride scholarship. Well, what's the money going to be used for now if they don't need it? And the answer is we don't know. It could be transferred to another child. It could be leveraged for maybe books and things like that. There's just a little bit of rigidity associated with those. But in a nutshell, they're designed as college savings plans.
I see. So recently I was reading on my iPhone about investment and stocks.
Mm-hmm.
And can I have a brief explanation of stocks, investment, bonds, etc.?
Yeah. So stocks, you own a piece of the company. Okay. Bonds, you're taking a position as you're loaning money to the company. That's all a bond is. Okay. So you either have a piece in the company growth or you're being paid money by loaning money to the company. So we call those securities or equities, and then bonds would be debt instruments. So a company or a school, you might be driving around here the next year or so, you might hear that Katy ISD has issued a new bond referendum, right? They want to borrow money because they need it to build another school, okay? And then they'll pay a healthy interest rate to the people that pay the interest on those bonds. I'm sorry, they'll pay healthy interest to the people that own the bonds.
I see. So, so can you explain the high risk, high reward, and the low risk, low reward idealism?
Yeah, so look at it this way. Let's say fast forward to 18, and mom and dad say you cannot go out for the night, and you sneak out your bedroom window and you go have a fantastic time with your friends, right? High risk, because if you get caught, you're going to get in giant trouble, right? But if you don't get caught, then you have a really, really fun time with your friends. High risk, high reward. Same goes with investments, right? If everything goes well, you're going to get a great return on your money. but if you lose, you could lose it all, right? And then low risk, low reward would be the opposite. Think just taking your money and stuffing it in your mattress, right? As long as the house doesn't burn down, you've always got your money, but you never earn anything.
I see. So I've been hearing about a lot about a 401k program or plan,
Mm-hmm.
and I was wondering like how it works. So can I have like a description or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, about the
Sure.
401k program?
Absolutely. So 401k is a lot like 529, right? In terms that it's governed by the US tax code. In simple terms, here's how it works. Let's say you make $100,000 a year. If you put $10,000 into your 401k, then normally you'd be taxed on $90,000. I'm sorry, on $100,000. But you put 10 in, then Uncle Sam says, we won't charge you tax. We're going to charge you on everything that you didn't put in. So you put 10 aside, now you've got 90 left of income. You pay tax today on that 90. And then way down the road in the future, when you retire, you pay tax at whatever the tax rate is. So it's a way to save without paying tax today, but then you finally have to pay tax tomorrow. Okay. A lot of people like that idea because it helps them not have to pay as much tax today while they're younger, working and earning. I would argue that one, 401k is not a retirement plan. It is a section of the United States tax code. And that tax code does two things. It helps provide revenue for our US Treasury, and also gives a nice tax break to companies that are contributing on behalf of their employees. Because a lot of times companies will match whatever you're saving or some portion thereof. So it's just simply a vehicle where you can invest in the market and save money, and you get some specific tax benefits right now. And then on the back end, you have to deal with whatever the taxes are.
And finally, I recently graduated from junior high.
Awesome.
And before I enter college, is there any way I can be financially healthy or financially ready and through college and adulthood to stay financially healthy?
Yeah, so a couple things. It goes back to that first question, right? And the second question. So, learn how to work now, right? It doesn't matter if you're working at home, doing chores, things like that, a side job, walking dogs, whatever it is. You learn kind of this work ethic while you're young, and that carries over into your studies, right? Plus, you can save a little bit of money. Next, while you're in college, you can get a job, and that's going to help you, right? You'll learn how to kind of work and also realize, I don't want to do this kind of work the rest of my life. And it gives you kind of some focus to stay in school and pursue the education that you really want. But I think just as critically as earning money is learning how money works, right? And the great thing about you specifically, I know your parents, right? There's a wealth of information they can teach you that many kids never learn, right? So before you get to school, learn how to balance a checkbook. Learn and understand how interest works on loans, right? Learn and understand what options are for investing inside a company plan, right? So, and a lot of that is available online. That's the beauty of these days, is pretty much everything's available. As important as earning is learning how to handle it. The Japanese have a saying. They say that saving money is like digging in the sand with a needle. Losing money is as easy as spilling a bucket of water on the sand. But it's far harder to save it than it is to lose it. And so if you understand how money works, and you never pay more than what something's worth, and you try the best you can not to get into high interest debt like credit card debt, then you're going to be way ahead of the game. There's actually, most colleges have like a personal finance class that you can take. A lot of the high schools have we called it home ec back in the day. It's called something else now. But it kind of walks you through everyday life skills, right? And balancing a checkbook and handling money is one of those things. Wouldn't hurt to go through. There may be a community class you can go to on how to handle money, right? So anything you can learn while you're young about how money operates and how to handle it will change how you think about it as you're going through school and when you finally graduate and get a job.
This is a great discussion. I would again like to thank you for your time,
Sure.
and thank you for coming on my show.
You bet.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.